Hey guys, welcome to this shoulder strengthener class. This session is going to condition and build strength, stability, and control into your shoulders, particularly for handstands. This isn't about strengthening your shoulders and arms for things like push-ups and working out, although it might help you in those areas. This is specifically tailored to conditioning them for handstands and arm balances. You'll need a couple of yoga blocks, a strap, and a wall space for this session. So set yourself up for that and I'll meet you back here. Let's get started in our first exercise. Come into your plank pose. So I'm not going to talk about the details too much here. We've covered that in previous sessions. This is all about conditioning and strengthening your shoulders. So in your plank, you should be working your full scapular protraction. You should be engaging your core, pelvis and posterior pelvic tilt, everything working just like we've practiced. And hold this. See if you can maintain full engagement. Protract through your shoulder blades. This particular class is focusing on the shoulders, so I want you to keep your mind in that area. We'll maintain form in the rest of our body, but for now I want you to focus on your shoulders, your scapula, because that's the focus of this particular workout. Breathe. Feel those muscles coming to life. The latissimus muscles in your side body, your serratus, your anterior deltoids, even your trapezius a little bit. That's this muscle up here, but try and release tension from that area. So depress your shoulder blades slightly. When we're in plank, we're not trying to hug and shrug the shoulders up towards the ears. Keep it in more of a relaxed state. The intention is to protract the shoulder blades. From here, let's work into our scapular articulation. So we'll come through those scapular push-ups that we covered. Lower your chest down, retract your shoulder blades, press it back up, protract your shoulder blades. Let's go for 20 reps here, down and up for 1, 2, 3, 4, pelvis is stable, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Protract your shoulder blades fully. From here, let's tap your left fingers to your left shoulder. Shoulder taps, protract your shoulder blades as you do that. Push the ground away. Right side, right fingers to right shoulder. 2, 3. Try and minimize the wobble side to side in your hips with your core engaged. 7, 8, 9, 10. Everything stable, minimal movement. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Find your plank. Breathe. This is our rest position. You should feel your upper back, your shoulder blades, that entire area starting to come to life and fatigue. So let's move through those one more time. Scapular push-ups. Lower down and up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm feeling this. 7, 8, 9, 10. Shoulder taps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Protract fully. 7, 8, 9. Hips high. 11, 12. Nice work, guys. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Come back to plank. Nice and stable. Feel your muscles, how they're feeling right now. And lower down onto your knees. Roll your shoulders out. So that was tough. My shoulders are feeling tired and fatigued. And just think, that was about 5 minutes we were up there. Think of that, but up in a handstand. You have to condition your shoulders to be stable and strong under pressure, so it translates to when you're upside down in a handstand. Let's move on to another couple of exercises to condition our elevation of our scapula. Grab your yoga blocks. come into a kneeling seated position. And we want to start conditioning the elevation and depression of our scapula. So in plank, we were working the protraction and retraction. Now let's think about the elevation and depression of those shoulder blades. Grab your yoga blocks. The heavier they are, the better. If you have weights, you can do that too to condition strength into them. Bring your blocks overhead. So right now, I want you to depress your shoulder blades. Plug your shoulders down, move them away from your ears. Feel that. Maintain a posterior pelvic tilt so we're not arching into the low back too much. From here, elevate your scapula. Reach up. How close can you lift your yoga blocks up towards the ceiling? Breathe. Draw your shoulders up towards your earlobes and depress your shoulder blades. Let's go through that about 10 times. Elevate, depress. Elevate, grow tall, lift through your side body, hug your shoulders towards your ears, depress. Press it up, lower it down. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lower it down. It's amazing how such a micro movement can feel so exhausting in your muscles. If you're doing it properly, you'll feel a burn happening, even though all we're doing is lifting our arms up overhead. So now I want us to repeat that, but in downward facing dog. It's a great preliminary pose for handstand. Downward facing dog is considered an inversion. So let's come into our downward facing dog nice and wide with our stance. Let's focus more on our shoulders than our legs. So everything should be working seamlessly here, legs engaged. But I want us to focus on the arms and the scapula. From here, depress your shoulder blades. Draw your head towards your thumbs. Allow your shoulder blades to depress. And from here, let's think about that elevation of the scapula. Push the ground away. Grow tall. Squeeze your biceps towards your ears. Hug your shoulders up towards your earlobes. And depress your shoulder blades. Let's go through that about 10 times. Elevate, depress. Elevate, depress. 3, 4, 5. Keep your chest moving towards your thighs. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice work. So from now on, whenever you're in downward facing dog, think about those two aspects. I want you to focus on elevating your scapula, drawing your shoulders up towards your earlobes. It's not about craning the neck, which is a common misconception. That's why you hear so many yoga teachers saying, don't wear your shoulders as earrings, move your shoulders away from your ears. It's a misconception. We want to elevate our scapula without craning our neck. We're elevating the scapula. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. For our next exercises, we'll be using the wall. So I'm actually going to move my yoga mat out of the way because it's not facing the right direction. Move the blocks out of the way. And what we want is our yoga strap nearby so we have access to that too. So firstly, as a little preliminary exercise, what I want you to do is have yourself kneeling against the wall and have your toes just touching the base of your wall here, and open up your yoga strap. Have it lying flush along the ground. So right now we're going to do a little exercise to really feel the elevation and protraction of our scapula whilst maintaining a posterior pelvic tilt. So lift your hips up slightly. Your toes can be touching your wall. Think of this as a modified child's pose. The heel of my hand is on the strap so it can slide on the floor. If you're using carpet, you might have to find something else like some plates or just walk your hands. So from here, come into a modified child's pose, hips roughly above your knees, and walk your hands forward, slide them on the strap. Have your hands about shoulder width apart, hug your shoulders towards your ears. So from here, see if you can maintain a posterior pelvic tilt, tuck your tailbone. You can move your hips back slightly if that's easier. Posterior pelvic tilt. I'm using the wall for some traction on my toes. Posterior pelvic tilt. And I want you to inch forward your yoga strap, slide it along the floor to really protract your shoulder blades and elevate your scapula. From here, maintaining your posterior pelvic tilt, can you move your chest towards the ground? Keep that posterior tilt. Move your hands away from you. If your hands slide back towards you, you're losing that openness, that flexion in the shoulders. Maintain that for 5, 4, this is our handstand position. 3, full elevation of the scapula. 2, 1, bring it back, slide it back. Nice work. So that's our preliminary exercise. If you're not confident using the wall, stick with that, do it every round. It's going to be great for conditioning you. Now let's play around with using the wall. Before I get started, I probably have to move this little piece of art out of the way or I will get in trouble. Okay, so against the wall, we're going to start by holding our good friend, the plank, using the wall. Step your feet up. So from here, find whatever distance you want. Your feet should be about hips height, but I'm not too fussed with that. I mainly care about your hand placement. And from here, step your feet up. Find your distance, tuck your tailbone, protract your shoulder blades. So wall plank, you really have to work everything here. Keep your shoulder blades depressing, so move your shoulders away from your ears in plank pose. We don't want to crane the neck too much. Release tension in your throat. Push the ground away. If you like, you can come onto your toes slightly. Push. Keep breathing. Engage your pelvis. Engage your core. We'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step down, lower onto your knees, and roll your wrists out. So if you want to, you can stick with that. It's a great exercise to keep conditioning your scapular strength and working your core. Otherwise, we're going to move on to our next exercise using the wall. But before we do that, shoulder strap rotations. So come into a nice kneeling position here and have your strap about 6 inches on either side wider than shoulder distance apart. So you want to have a nice distance that allows you to move through in this rotation without having to crane and twist. You want to feel tension along your shoulders so it's stretching you open, but not so much that it compromises form. Tuck your tailbone, engage your core, posterior pelvic tilt. Make your way through those rotations for 1, 2. Let's keep going with it. Notice which side feels tighter. If you need to loosen or tighten the strap, make that adjustment as necessary. Big range of motion here. It's important to think about mobility when we're also focusing on shoulder strength. So as you lift your strap up, elevate your scapula, lift your chest, find that openness. Everything is working here in this range of motion. Few more. And let's release that. So our next exercise that we come into, using the wall, if you want to stick with plank, that's fine. But for me, I'm going to come into a tuck shape using the wall. So to find that, come into a kneeling position with your knees touching the wall. And we want our hands to be placed on the ground roughly where your hip bones are. So if you feel down, make a little note on the ground where that is, and that's where your hands are going to be placed. From there, turn around, think where your hands were. Maybe you want to go a little bit further forward, depending on your confidence levels. From here, step yourself up, place your hands shoulder width apart just like you did before. You can walk in if you need to, otherwise squeeze yourself in. From here, tuck yourself into a little handstand tuck. So think of this as child's pose on the wall. Find your distance. And from here, lift your hips away from the wall slightly, knees higher. And I want you to think of that same thing we did before. Shoulders move towards the wall, push the ground away, elevate your scapula. You can look towards the wall or between your fingers if you like. Breathe and push. This is tough. This is optional, remember. Posterior pelvic tilt. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Walk yourself out. Step down. So if you like, you can pause the video and repeat that. That is putting a lot of pressure on your shoulders. It takes a ton of strength to be able to maintain the elevation in your scapula whilst holding that position. So please pause the video, do it a couple more times, and now we're going to jump straight back into our strap rotations. Find your width, and back and forwards. Find a nice big range of motion here. When it comes to using the wall, there are so many little dynamic changes that we can make to work our shoulders and scapula in a different way. That was a tuck variation. It's really intense, so you can modify it. What we're doing is just trying to introduce different ways of conditioning strength into the shoulders. And release your strap, move it out of the way, and let's come back to the wall. So this time, we're going to use the wall in a half handstand shape. And to find our distance for that, come into a seated position with your heels against the wall. And right now for our hand placement, same thing as before. Keep mind of where your hip bones are. Keep a note of where that is on the floor, and that's where your hand placement will be. Find that position, place your hands down, and from here we're going to step our feet up the wall, and our feet will be the same height as our hips. The idea is we want to stack our pelvis over our shoulders and our shoulders over our hands. So let's come up. If you like, you can watch me for the first round and modify when you decide to come up. You can pause the video if you need. So from here, straighten your legs, move your shoulders towards the wall. You can bend your knees slightly if you need to. Shoulders move towards the wall. Push the ground away. Look at the wall or look between your hands. Engage, push, elevate your scapula. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step down. So once again, repeat that as many times as you need to or you feel like you have the energy for. You'll notice I didn't straighten my legs on the wall, and the reason for that is I find that it's a lot of tension in my legs, where today I'm trying to condition my shoulders. The main thing is that your pelvis or your hips are stacked above your shoulders and your wrists. We're trying to condition our line, train our scapular elevation, and build shoulder strength. So I'm going to set my mat up one more time. Hopefully it's in the same place. And we'll come into our last little round of exercises. From a downward facing dog, that's where we will start. So in down dog, we're going to come into what I like to call the ultimate yogi push-ups. From our down dog, shift forward to the top of a plank pose. You can watch me for this first round. From plank, you can lower your knees if you need to, otherwise lower through chaturanga push-up. And from there, you're going to send your weight back to a hovering child's pose. So your knees hover about 5 inches off the mat so that your shins are parallel. Move your chest towards the ground. Maintain that posterior pelvic tilt that we worked on. From here, press your legs to straight back to downward facing dog. So we're going to go through 5 rotations in that direction. Then we'll reverse it for another 5. You can join me now, feet hips distance apart, downward facing dog to begin. And shift forward like a wave, protract your shoulder blades. Plank pose, lower through your push-up. Send it back, hover your knees. Child's pose, push the ground away, elevate your scapula. Down dog, plank, pick up the speed. Chaturanga, hovering child. Down dog, plank, chaturanga, hovering child. 2 more. Plank, chaturanga, hovering child. Down dog. Last one. Plank, chaturanga, hovering child. Down dog. Let's reverse that direction this time. From down dog, lower your knees, hovering child. Shift forward, chaturanga, press it up, plank. Down dog, hovering child. Chaturanga, plank. Down dog, let's go for 3 more. Child, chaturanga, plank. Down dog, you can lower your knees for the push-up if you need to. Child, chaturanga, plank. Down dog, last one. Don't forget to breathe. Pause and down dog. From here, we're going to come into Vashisthasana. So stack your right hand and stack your shoulder above your right wrist and come into a side plank. Your left hand can be on your hip or up, it doesn't really matter. From here, your option is to stay in this position and just hold it. Otherwise, we can lower the hips down and up for 1. Work into that shoulder range of motion. 3, 4, core engaged. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Opposite side, left hand down, Vashi on the left. Down and up for 1. You can hold Vashi in that stationary position if you're not feeling too strong in the shoulders today. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Nice work. Let's go through our ultimate yogi push-ups one more time. Find downward facing dog. I won't talk too much through this round. Let's start by lowering to child's first. Hover your knees, send it forward, chaturanga, plank, down dog, child's, chaturanga, plank, down dog. That's 2. Don't forget to breathe. 3, 4, last one in this direction. 5. Okay, let's reverse it. Down dog to plank, chaturanga, child's, down dog. 2. 3. That's 4 and last round. 5. Vashi on the right. Stack your feet and lower your hips down and up for 1, 2. Big range of motion if you're moving. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Change over to the left side. Nice and stable. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, core engaged. 9, 10. And lower yourself down. So I hope you've enjoyed this short shoulder strengthening workout. It's really going to help you build and condition strength and stability into your shoulders for handstands. It wasn't too intense, but that's not our goal here. We're wanting to build endurance and get our muscle memory used to holding these particular positions. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next session. Oh, and before I forget, thanks guys. I'll see you in the next session.